So the transfer window slams shut, and Aston Villa managed to get three signings over the line. Emi Martinez was meant to transfer to Manchester United, which fell through, so he stays. So what does that mean for Aston Villa? And are these signings enough to convince you we can turn it around?
Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with a bit of a transfer talk show, just talking around my thoughts on Aston Villa's deadline day deals. And do I think they're actually really good signings? Do I think they're going to fit into the team? And do I think they're going to take us to the next level? First of all, though, apologies again, sparse background. This is my new base, but it will be decorated very soon. We'll get the sound and everything set up as well properly, but you've got to bear with me a little bit. Thank you as well for 6,000 subscribers. It is amazing to hit that number. We did that yesterday on deadline day as well. So amazing stuff. Thank you for all your support, and we want to continue to grow. So please do like and subscribe and get your comments in. I'm interested to know your thoughts on the deadline day deals that we managed to get over the line. We know we had some issues to deal with in terms of PSR, SCR, additional UEFA rulings in terms of finances, and it did leave us a bit hampered. However, there has to be some accountability taken. I know Damien Vidigani put a tweet out about the work that the recruitment team had done, and that is all well and good. That is absolutely fantastic that they managed to do that work, and nobody denies that they haven't worked hard. However, you have to take some accountability in the fact that clearly mistakes have been made, clearly gambles have been taken, and I'm all for taking a gamble. You've got to go for it, but ultimately, things could have been done better. Players could have been moved on. Contracts could have been negotiated. Deals could have been done a little bit more smoothly. And it ended up being Jacob Ramsey was one to move on that potentially we didn't want to do. Whether you want to look at whether he was willing to sign the contract that was on the table, or whether we had to do this at the last minute to maneuver things. But that had to happen because we couldn't shift other players out of the door quick enough. So, look, we are where we are. We want to move forward. We've managed to get players in, and I just want to give my thoughts on those because, look, I don't want to sound negative. I really don't, and I don't want to be sort of dismissing the signings before they've even kicked a ball for Aston Villa. But I don't know how convinced I am that these signings will take us to the next level. There will certainly be bodies and will certainly give us options, and hopefully they will be able to be very, very useful signings, but I'm not 100% convinced. And we have to talk about Emi Martinez as well, the fact that he is now staying at the club after, whoever you want to believe, whether he informed the club that he was moving on a long time ago, where the promises were made to him about moving away, whether we did enough to keep him, whether we kept our end of the bargain. Whatever the truth is, he's not moving. He didn't get the call from Manchester United in the correct manner that meant we could do a deal. So now he has to reintegrate himself into the squad, at least for the next 3 to 4 months. Now, the first signing, Victor Lindelof, that was the one that we've managed to do on a free transfer. And look, I know myself and Sam on our Lions Raw match reaction kind of had a bit of a joke about this because it was announced on Sunday night that this was going to get done. And he's coming on a free transfer, 2-year deal, 31 years of age, experienced player. Obviously, Swedish international, has played for Manchester United, has European experience. But in terms of players who can do a job, he can certainly do that. And he'll certainly provide cover for Ezri Konsa, and I imagine he'll play more games than we maybe had planned to, because we've got Europa League. Ezri Konsa can get injured, suspended. More players could. Unai Emery could change tactics for certain games as well that he will be used for. And in terms of a defender who's got leadership qualities, who can put his head where it hurts, who puts a tackle in, who's a no-nonsense defender, I think Lindelof ticks all those boxes. He does make mistakes at times, but he certainly wears his heart on his sleeve. And in terms of characters and leaders in the dressing room, I think that's really good. But it does show a kind of shift in our mentality and Unai Emery's mentality in terms of players that he wants, because we've sent out young players on loan now, regardless of whether they have the experience yet or not. You only get the experience by playing games. And we've got Kerr Smith, we've got Jacob Feeney on loan at professional clubs, League One, League Two clubs, that I don't know, could he have been kept around the squad and been given the odd Europa League game to come in and get experience, the odd Carabao Cup game, the FA Cup game? Victor Lindelof is obviously a much higher standard than him, but how many games are we expecting him to play? Are we expecting him to really compete with Ezri Konsa for that shirt? Are we just expecting him to be cover for that shirt? So that's an interesting one, and he was available on a free transfer at the start of this window, and he was signed on a free transfer at the end of the window. So it's clear that we were trying to get other players over the line. Whether we could get it done or not is as the case has transpired that we couldn't. So I'll support him, but I just don't know how convinced I am with that signing. I think it was literally a signing that, look, this guy is available on a free transfer. Do you want him or not, Unai? Go on, then we'll take him. And I can't get away from having that feeling about Victor Lindelof. Although you get my support, you'd be a useful player, a useful character, a useful leader. We've talked about people who can shout at players, be a voice on the pitch, and I'm pretty sure that he will be that on the pitch. Now, one that probably excites fans, but also leaves me a little bit, again, unconvinced, is Jadon Sancho. Now, the track record of Unai Emery with, using Marcus Rashford as an example. You want to get a player into a club, playing with a smile on his face, having fans that love him, having a supportive team around him, having a manager who will coach him and will talk to him about where he should be and what he should do. And if you use Rashford as the example, certainly when he initially came in, it was a real breath of fresh air. Aston Villa hadn't had a player of that calibre for a long time, hadn't had a player with that level of pace for a long time, and he was a real impact player. Now, unfortunately, he got injured towards the back end of the season. Jadon Sancho is a little bit of a different case. I think he has been a tale of, again, unfulfilled potential. But I don't quite know what he does that is fantastic. Has he got electric pace? No. Does he really run at people directly? Not really. Does he really score a lot of goals? Not really. Does he really assist a lot of goals? Not really. So what are we asking him to do? Yes, he can provide the odd flash of brilliance. Yes, he can see clever passes. Yes, he can beat a man. But I want to see him really show what he can do for Aston Villa at this club and really step up and be a big, big player for this club. Because, yes, he did it in fits and starts at Borussia Dortmund and had a couple of really good spells. But ultimately at Manchester United and at Chelsea, he didn't really produce. And for me, it's been a lot in the body language of Jadon Sancho. Whenever I've seen him lining up, to whether it's to come onto the pitch or whether as a substitute or whether it's on the pitch as a player, he's had his arms over his sleeves, his sleeves over his hands, his shoulders slunched over. And that to me is just not a player who's enjoying his football and a player who wants to dominate on the pitch. And that's what I want to see from Jadon Sancho. So I am not 100% convinced. We can look at the highlight reels. You can look at the kind of skills that he does in terms of step overs and, Ronaldo flicks and, all that kind of stuff, which is great. I want to see players expressing themselves and using skills, but it has to be done with a purpose and it has to be done at pace and to get us somewhere, whether it be to lead to a shot, to lead to a cross. So that's what I want to see from Jadon Sancho. I think it's been one that we've probably been looking at for a little while, and Unai Emery probably sees something in him, and that's great, but we have to see it transpire onto the pitch. And he's got the best manager to get that out of him. We've got a track record of what we managed to see with Marcus Rashford, who got him back playing with a smile on his face. So hopefully we can have that this season with Jadon Sancho. Out of the three signings, though, the one that I'm most excited about is Harvey Elliott. I think we have a real player here, and I think this is the player that can really take us to higher levels. He was phenomenal in the under-21 European Championships for England, and he has that kind of arrogance, that kind of confidence to want to progress. And I think being at Liverpool, and every time I've seen him come on, whether it be for 5 minutes, whether it be 15 minutes, or whether it be to start, he's wanted to make an impact, and he's scored goals in Champions League games. He scored goals in big games. He scored goals in moments where he's only been on the pitch for a small amount of time. His movement's clever. He puts his foot in. And I'm really excited to see what he can do. He can play in a variety of positions as well, whether that be out wide, whether that be in sort of attacking midfield, whether that even be in a more conventional midfield position. Harvey Elliott can do it, and he's at the right age, and he is in a position now where he wants to make his mark. He wants to put his stamp on his own professional career, and he could really shine this season for Aston Villa and get himself into that England squad for next year's World Cup after having such a brilliant time with the Euro under-21 squad. And if he has a good season, if he has a good 6 months, he could really push himself into Thomas Tuchel's mind. And I'm sure he's focused on that, and he's got that focus. And look, if the carrot at the end of the stick is a permanent move to Aston Villa, then that is a really good situation for us to be in. So I'm very excited about this signing. I think he's done well at Liverpool. Potentially would have wanted more games, potentially would have wanted more out of him, but a very, very good signing. Finally, Emi Martinez. Now, what do we do about Emi? You know, it was all looked that he was on his way to Manchester United, but at the last minute they decided to go for Senna Lemons, and he is now staying at Aston Villa. How do you want to integrate him with the squad? How will the squad integrate back with Emi Martinez? Because apparently he's been talking about leaving since January. His representatives were in talks since January. He got Lisandro Martinez to talk to Ruben Amorim. He did everything he could to engineer a move to Manchester United. He's now staying for the time being at Aston Villa. Me personally, he's got to come back in as the number one. But he needs a lot of groundwork to do to get back in with the fans, to get back in with the players. Because you saw what John McGinn, you saw what Tyrone Mings quoted as saying. And look, I was all for saying, you guys have got to get on with it. Players leave, players do whatever they want to do in their interests. You have to get on with the game. You're a professional footballer, but it can't be denied that this type of thing affected them and has probably affected them for a few months. You know, you don't want to look next to you and see a teammate, a player that you're going into battle with who doesn't want to be a part of the fight. And that's maybe what they've seen with Emi Martinez. So he's really got to show his commitment to Aston Villa and how he wants to help us. Because last season, there was times where he wasn't on his game. We need to see a fully focused Emi Martinez, because a fully focused Emi Martinez can get us 10 to 12 points across the season, which could be the difference between a Champions League spot, a Europa League spot, or even not qualifying for Europe at all. So, Emi Martinez, it's on you to get back into this team. That's my thoughts anyway. I'll be back later tonight. If you're watching this Tuesday evening, 9:30, we are live with the fans forum. So make sure you catch that later. Where do we go from here? I want to hear the lads' thoughts on the signings. I want to hear how they're going to interact with the team, where they're going to play, how they're going to impact the team as well. And obviously, thoughts on everything Aston Villa on and off the pitch. Once again, thank you for 6,000 subscribers. Next stop, 10K. We want to grow on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So please help us get there. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.